Hi, everyone. Welcome to the mackCHAT, the very first episode of my very first podcast ever. I'm super excited, kind of nervous. And even though I listen and watch a bunch of podcasts, it's weird to be on this side of it. But I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So here we are, and we're giving it a shot. Um, before I get into it, let's see here. Yeah, so the working title right now for this is called mackCHAT. I'm your host, Mackenzie, or Mac. You can call me Mac. Let's do a little bit of background. For those of you who don't know me or aren't affiliated to me, or who have never worked with me or anything like that, I'll give you a brief background. Let's go all the way back. I was born in New York. We moved to California when I was very young. So I'm a California boy, raised here, lived in California just about all of my life. Um, let's see, I grew up in Riverside, California, which is Southern California Inland Empire. I went to college in Santa Barbara. I studied religious studies with a concentration in world religions. And then I worked there for a few years after, and then moved down to LA. And I pursued my master's in healthcare administration, which is like an MBA, but it is healthcare specific. And that had a specialization of organizational leadership and change management. Um, my work experience has been largely in business and management consulting, specifically for independent healthcare facilities, providers, et cetera. The first half of my 8-year stint in that was working with surgery centers, independent surgery centers, and then that carried over into working with independent physician practices, and that included also working with urgent cares, physical and hand therapy clinics, and orthopedic and pain management offices. And so lots of experience in the healthcare business management and consulting field. I have about a decade of leadership experience, and I love working with people. That's kind of just all I think about and all I do. And so this is a little bit of where that podcast is actually coming from. Um, yeah, and so this podcast came up, just doing a podcast in general came up because I just have so many, like many of us, so many thoughts, so many ideas that I can get really carried away with. I am a big talker, so I've realized throughout my life that there's a lot of things that I have to say, and not everybody wants to hear all of them all at once, and that's fine. I've learned how to pick and choose what I say. But I thought, why not do a podcast and be able to talk about all the things that are on my mind, and also invite guests to come and talk about the things that we are both curious about and have a conversation and have a little chat. And so that's the idea behind mackCHAT. It's going to fluctuate in the topics I talk about, but right now I'm really focused on this series that I'm starting with this first episode, which is the art and science of collaboration. Originally, I was saying the art of collaboration, but there's really a science to it as well. So I'm kind of finagling that into the title, the working title. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, give you some more background, kind of let you know what I've been thinking about, how that's going to contribute to this podcast, what types of topics I'll be talking about, and what kinds of guests will be on the show, even though none of them have confirmed yet, because I still have to reach out and get their confirmation. But I know that I'm going to get at least a few to come on. And yeah, so let's see, before I get started, just a couple of things on my mind this week. Let me also mention, currently I live in Los Angeles in West Hollywood with my partner, Joey, and our little mini golden doodle, Toshi. He is the cutest. And we do date night every Wednesday. And last night we had an awesome date night. And we went and saw the new Inside Out 2 movie. cried. We both cried. It was so good. They do such a good job of, I mean, Pixar and Disney does in general, but especially with these Inside Out movies, they do such a good job of articulating and taking you through the human experience of just growing up and getting to know yourself and recognizing emotions and how those play into your life as a child growing up. And so it's just very nostalgic, and it's definitely a tearjerker in the best ways possible. So if you haven't seen that, I recommend you see the first one, Inside Out, and then also see Inside Out 2. That was incredible. And it's moments like that that have been another driving force for doing a podcast like this. Where were we? We were traveling somewhere recently, and the concept of collective effervescence came up. And this concept is basically, it describes any event where there's multiple people. Most of the time it's diverse people, multiple people coming from different backgrounds and different beliefs, coming and experiencing something together, whether that's a shared belief, an event that they're at, like a concert or a movie, or, it's the gathering of people around a common cause, a common belief, and that sense of power and emotion that you feel in those moments. And so when you think of, the last concert you saw of your favorite artist, and just that, like, almost, well, it is physiological, that physical, experience you have in those moments where you're connected to all of these people. Everybody is just jumping and shouting, or, maybe it's a really intimate moment with the artist, whatever it may be. But those moments are what they call collective effervescence. And those are moments that I really am hoping to create and to bring to others. I believe that our communities need more creativity and more artistic expression. I'd say there's a lot of great efforts that are making that happen. And I'm hoping to, jump on that train and contribute myself. But that whole idea of collective effervescence has been stuck with me recently. And my ideas with this podcast is that I can talk about some concepts kind of related to that. So let me get into a little bit about this this podcast. So why a podcast? I talked about that, just being able to verbally process, to myself and to all of you. And so those of you that might want to be listening to this, right now, I would say my field of expertise is leadership development, employee engagement, organizational development, or OD, as they call it. And that may not be your area of expertise, but there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle of that apply to our daily lives, and really just interacting with other people and interacting with humans, whether that's your coworkers, customers, your manager or boss, other stakeholders or vendors, whatever it may be. We're always like interacting with people, whether we want to or not. And so, some of us are more adept at doing it. Some of us have talents and strengths that contribute to how we interact with others. Some of us don't think it's, that important, which is fine. But all of it, all I have to say is that we're always interacting with humans. And so I think if you are in a field that where you manage people, or you have to facilitate people, whether it's a team project or, a group of people to get to a common goal, whatever it is, this will be very beneficial for you. Also, if you're in the field of psychology, sociology, DEI and B, so diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, or just general leadership and management, this will apply to you. If you're not part of those fields, that's fine. I think if you're interested in how humans interact with each other, just the human experience in general, and if you're just a people person and you love listening to those types of topics, this will be great for you. Fantastic. And then again, just a quick give more context. So this is the first episode, so I'm kind of trying to think how much information to give you, but where I've been maybe the past, almost a year, which is crazy, but let's say past 8 months. I left the kind of healthcare, business management, and consulting fields in the fall of last year, and just kind of realized I needed to reassess where I was going. So I took a sabbatical for a few months, and then I started building my own consulting practice. And so that's taken a while. And, in the beginning, everyone I talked to and all the different cohorts and networks and advisors I joined and talked with, they all kind of said, it's a process, this or that. And it is. And so that's been a long journey. But the things that I've been so interested in are organizational health and alignment. And so specifically, how do we solve the problem of misalignment when people are trying to achieve a common goal? What stops us from achieving that common goal? And how do we get over those obstacles or those hurdles? And how do we do it in a way that is fun and enjoyable and meaningful and brings impact to the work that we do? I think that so much of our workforce today is more and more disengaged because there's a lack of that meaning or a lack of contribution or something's missing from the puzzle. And we've known that for years and years, and I'll get into that. But all that to say is this podcast and this topic is contributing to that conversation. So I'm really excited right now. I am doing consulting and coaching, working with clients to both organizational clients and individual clients. So organizational setting, doing alignment workshops, doing consulting programs and initiatives to help improve their organizations. And so that falls within the organizational development field. And then I really enjoy one-on-one coaching. That popped up a couple months ago, and I've been helping a few people just sort of assess where they are in life and what the next chapter looks like. So I've been doing these next chapter workshops with people, and that's been really rewarding because I love helping people go through change and assess where they are, where they've been, and what they're looking forward to and how to get there. And that's something that has come up, and I'm really excited to continue doing that as well. All right, so let's get into the art and science of collaboration. So just to kind of introduce this series, I think first it's helpful to define collaboration, and I've been defining it by really saying it's whenever there's two or more people that come together with diverse ideas, perspectives, knowledge, skill sets, etc., to achieve a common goal. So, and sometimes you don't have a common goal. So sometimes that process of coming together is to create a common goal. But collaboration pulls from all different kinds of specialties and expertise, like sociology, psychology. I mentioned DEI and B, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, leadership, management, people skills, all of that kind of stuff. And so those are the types of topics in future episodes of people I'll bring in that I believe are experts or thought leaders in those topics to give some more thought to this conversation. And why this topic? The topic of collaboration came up in developing my business and just trying to write and read and talk through ideas and what I think is important and what I think is needed. And really, I think that there's a lot to collaboration that is not intuitive to people. And I think if you were to ask someone to describe collaboration, they would give you, very typical buzzwords like teamwork, communication, working together, which is true. And those are all pieces of the puzzle. But it's much more than that. And I think that in my life, I've always been so in tune to other people. And that's probably a whole nother episode in itself, because it's impacted how I, my own perception of myself and everything. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But I've really been always fixated on watching people interact with each other. When it's somebody reacts, a certain way to something somebody did, when I know that there is conflict and I want to see how people handle it, when people are just engaging with others, or performing for others, whatever it may be. I've always just been fixated on that. And that's a lot of the, like, I love like people watching. If you go to like Disneyland and you sit and just watch people engage and interact with each other and experience life, it's one of the most fulfilling things for me, and one of the things I'm the most curious about. So that's kind of where I got into this. And then really most recently, the topic that I've been really focused on in helping businesses and organizations is with workforce engagement. And so I mentioned a little bit about just like, people are becoming more and more disengaged because there's no sense of contribution, or there's no sense of meaning or impact in the work that they do. And a lot of that is because they're not effectively collaborating. And granted, there's some roles and skill sets and strengths and positions people are in, and just circumstances that they're in where they maybe aren't afforded the opportunity to be able to collaborate. And that's one thing. But I think that collaboration is really a missed opportunity in a lot of organizations. Just a couple quick stats that I came across that are pretty crazy. I don't know if you know Gallup, but Gallup is kind of one of the top leading firms that does reporting and data analysis and studies on the working experience for people globally around the world. And so they've been one of the leading names on that topic. But their workforce report for 2024 just came out like last week, I think. And they've studied over 180,000 organizations in like over 50 different countries, no, over 90 different countries with 50 different industries. So they've done really extensive research. And they've noted that low engagement costs the world $8.9 trillion, which is 9% of the global GDP, which is crazy. And in other research that I've done, they've talked about like $1 million is wasted every 20 seconds around the world from organizations because of like bad collaboration or low engagement. And this isn't like a new concept. Ever since I started, university or, higher education, that's kind of been a common understanding, is that people in leadership realize that they have to do more for their employees and for their staff, but it kind of always feels like a box you have to check, or something you just have to do. And some leaders will kind of roll their eyes, or they'll look to maybe one person who really loves it and put all the weight on them to make it happen and to improve collaboration, improve culture, improve teamwork, all of that. But it's really, collaboration is part of our everyday. When two or more people come together, to achieve a common goal, they're collaborating and they're coming together with a diverse set of experiences, emotions, moods, whatever it may be. So I think it's incredibly important, and some people will kind of call it fluff, or and which is fine, because I understand it. There's so many things to be focused on, but I think it is just as important as sales, operations, finance, etc. And I would argue it fuels those things. And so those are some more topics that we'll talk about. So maybe just real quick, let's see. We talked about that. Yeah, so maybe real quick too, I'll talk about the benefits of collaboration. So we talked a little bit about like what collaboration is, how it's generally understood these days. But really, the benefit of collaboration is that I will say the benefit of good collaboration or effective collaboration, great collaboration, is that it reduces a business's negative outcomes, it improves their positive outcomes, and overall, it just brings greater success and long-term sustainability for an organization. And this has been proved time and time again over the past several decades. How it happens is different as technology advances, as global shifts happen in the marketplace and kind of change the way we do business. The how is changing. but they're still the how. And that's what collaboration is. It's the how. And so that's what we're focusing on. So yeah, reducing negative outcomes. So if you really cultivate good positive collaboration in the workplace, you are reducing stress, reducing burnout, reducing turnover because of that. You would most likely see a decrease in abandoned projects or half-assed projects, whatever it may be. And there probably wouldn't be as much wasted time and effort. And because of that, on the other side of the spectrum there, you're increasing your positive outcomes, which is, you're getting more productivity out of people. That also comes with more innovation. There's more creative problem solving, a sense of belonging, and again, that meaningful contribution and that feeling that you're bringing impact through the work that you do. So, you're kind of, as the negative outcomes decrease, it's because the positive outcomes are increasing. Yeah, and so that's why, it's incredibly important. And I don't know how many conferences I've been to or meetings I've been in where this has been explained, and it just kind of feels like it's still not a priority. And so I'm kind of on that mission to just push that priority higher and higher. And it's up there. It impacts your profits. It impacts, your revenue and your profits and your margins. And so that's something that, why I'm so passionate about it. Yeah, and then maybe just to expand on that with another study that I think is really incredibly important is Project Aristotle, which was from Google. I think it was actually like a decade ago. It was in 2012, I believe, more than a decade ago. And they were trying to ask the question, what makes teams successful? You know, and so this Project Aristotle was started, and they studied, over, I forget what it was. It was like almost like 200 different teams, and they measured like several different like attributes. So there's a report that you can go online and see it, and it's really extensive. But basically, they studied all these different diverse teams that are part of different projects and have different expertise and specialties, knowledges, all of that. Hundreds of different teams, and they came out of it realizing that and what makes the team successful is not high performers, highly productive individuals. It's not necessarily experts, the best of the best. Those people definitely bring a plethora of really good, valuable expertise and input to the process. But what really makes teams successful is this sort of what they came up with these five items, and it's psychological safety. So that is the feeling that you can bring up issues, share ideas, collaborate without judgment or without reprimand or without consequence. It's an open door kind of policy. You're free to be a part of the process and to contribute your thoughts and ideas. That's psychological safety. That's number one. Number two is dependability. So there's this sense that you get things done, and you get things done on time, and you get things done well. And that's shared throughout the whole team. If there's that sense of dependability, that makes the team very successful. The third was structure and clarity. So when every person on the team knows their role, knows where they're headed, they have a North Star, they're very clear on the objectives, on what's being measured, that also makes a team successful. And then the last two are what we've been talking about that I've mentioned multiple times: meaning and impact. So that, that there's meaning in the work that these individuals are doing on the team, and that their work is considered, appreciated. It's part of, it's a piece of the pie, and it's just as delicious as the other pieces. And then the impact, that it's making an impact on customers, that it's not just kind of going in one ear out the other, or it's not just going into like you're not just a cog in the machine, but it's ultimately that machine is producing something really amazing for their customers or their clients, and they see that. So, a really effective, successful team is not defined by how great an individual is or how productive an individual is. Productivity is important, but what really defines a successful team is psychological safety, dependability, structure and clarity, and then meaning and impact. And even though that study was 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, I believe Google continues to use it. I see that they have resources that continue to go into their new programs that they launch, into a lot of their leadership development and onboarding for their staff. And then there's a ton of other really top firm companies that have taken that and expanded on it as well. So it's a proven statistic or a proven method there. Yeah, so I think, when it comes to collaboration, this is going to be a really fun topic because there's so many things to talk about right now. And I'd say, I think kind of my goal with this is to kind of help business leaders or managers, especially what we call middle managers, which I don't think is the best term for that. But basically, if you were to have like a hierarchy in an organization, you have your top executive level, maybe there's senior management, VPs, directors, and then you have what they call middle management, which is most of the time the managers who are sort of on the front lines with the staff. They have their direct reports are the employees, the staff that are running the day-to-day operations, whatever it may be. And a lot of times they get called middle managers because they end up being sort of the middle person that's in between the staff and the executive team or the senior leadership team. And that is probably one of the most critical roles that you can have in a company, because it is such a delicate balance between executing and also providing feedback back up to the top. It's sort of the top down, down up. You are sort of that critical manager. And I think that's what people started calling it, as a critical manager, which I love. But this would be a great topic for you as well. And I think that there's a lot of challenges when it comes to this kind of topic, a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings, and there's really, 3 key challenges that I'm trying to tackle right now for business leaders, managers, whoever it may be. And that's the just a limited understanding of collaboration, what that's like in the workplace and the benefits of it, a lack of resources. So, a lot of times people they think they need an expert they need to hire an expert, or they need to have like a team of people come in, and there's a lot to talk about that, but the lack of resources, I think, is also capacity. People, are so caught up with competing priorities that prioritizing something like collaboration and developing a culture that's based on psychological safety, dependability, blah, 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 is very difficult to do. And so the lack of resources really creates a challenge for implementing, excellent and effective collaboration. And then learned behaviors. So we have limited understanding, lack of resources, and then limited behaviors. And the learned behaviors. And the learned behaviors piece of it is probably the most difficult because you can understand the topic more. You can become educated on collaboration, culture, whatever it may be. And you can learn how to optimize your resources to better implement it so you can solve that problem. But it's really hard to unlearn habits and behaviors. And so I don't know if you've ever been part of a team where you start a project and you say, okay, this time we're going to, be really consistent with how we deliver our results, or we're going to be really consistent with staying on track. And then it's like things just come up and you get sidetracked, there's new priorities, et cetera. And it's you fall back into those habits. And a lot of times that's because those habits are coming from a place of stress, pressure, whatever it is. So that one's very difficult. And there's a lot more to say on that. I don't want to talked a lot so far, so bear with me. I don't even know how long this is yet. Ah, cool. So let's talk about, I feel like I've talked enough about collaboration. And just to kind of reiterate, again, collaboration is the process whenever two or more people come together in order to achieve a common goal. And I think what I'm getting at is the process piece of it. And I think that that's where there's both a science and an art to it, is the how we work together, how we communicate, how we prioritize, how we strategize, execute, etc. So the how piece of it is kind of what I'm going to be diving into more and more. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to bring on several guests and just chat about all these ideas. I don't honestly right now know how long this episode is. I'm sure it's at least 30 minutes. But I'm going to try to keep these episodes to around 40 minutes, 45 minutes. If there is like a really important topic or a topic where we can't cut time, maybe we'll do a two-part, or maybe it'll be an hour, episode. So we'll figure that out, and we'll go with the motion. This is the process. But yeah, I've been talking with several close colleagues and friends and people that I've networked recently with, and I'm super excited to invite them. There's an expert and thought leader in industrial and organizational psychology. We've got some experts in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We've got some thought leaders in just postmodern leadership and what that looks like today, specifically addressing the opportunities and challenges with AI and technology as that continues to grow. How does that shape how we, collaborate? Experts in communication, and experts in organizational development, design thinking, change management, and also generational expectations in the workplace. And so that's going to be a really fun one too, because, as of today, we've got in some companies up to 5 different generations working together, and it's messy. So that'll be fun. It's messy, but there's also so much opportunity there for, oh yeah, so much like opportunity for really inclusive conversations that bring really impactful solutions. So I think there's a lot to talk about there. Yeah, so again, just very excited for this podcast. The first episode, the first podcast I've ever done. This was actually the first take. I was on a drive up from a networking event a few weeks ago, and I was super inspired because I had met several business owners who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, and we're part of the Chamber of Commerce in LA, and there's a national LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce that certifies us as business enterprise individuals. And so I came from that event, and people just gave such compelling pitches about their businesses, and it turned into really fruitful conversations. And so I was all amped up and everything on my drive back, and I had like an hour and a half drive back, and I was like, I'm just going to try talking about collaboration and my ideas. And so I was like, let's just practice like I'm doing a podcast. And so I put like a voice memo on, and I ended up like just chatting full steam ahead and it was like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, I can definitely do at least my first episode of my podcast. So that's how we got here. So yeah, I'm again, super excited about all of this, and let me know what you think. Let me know if there's some topics or thought leaders or key people that talk about this that you know about, that you think I should look at or listen to. Add to my list if there's any books you think are really interesting on the topic, or if there's anything that you would just like to hear or you'd like to have on this podcast. And then, yeah, of course, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others. I'm going to be posting this on YouTube. That's my goal. I have to still figure out all the logistics, but posting it on YouTube, and then I'll likely share it on LinkedIn. And then I'll probably, I've created an Instagram account for my business. And then I'll probably share some of it there, splice it up and do some shorts or something like that. I've got to figure all of that out. But my YouTube is Mackenzie James Co. And that's MacKenzie James Co. Co. And that's same as my Instagram is mackenziejames.co. And then you can find me on LinkedIn as well, at Mackenzie James Ellis. And my business page is Mackenzie James LLC. I'll put those all up here, I think. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know how to do that yet. Yeah, and then if you are interested, if you think that these topics and these kinds of conversations would be fruitful in your own life and supportive for your own business, your organization, whether you're a leader or an employee, whatever it may be, reach out to me, message me on any of those platforms. You can also email me at consulting@mackenziejames.co. And yeah, let's talk, let's chat. I'm doing, any introductory call I do with anyone is free, so no worry about that, no obligations. But if this is an area of interest to you, I would love to chat and see if there's any synergies there for us. But with that, I'll conclude. Thank you so much for joining me for this first episode of the mackCHAT. And I look forward to sharing what you think of this and bringing another episode to you with a special guest. I'll be releasing these probably every couple weeks, maybe once a month to start, just until I get used to the system. But the idea would be every couple weeks. So thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great day.